Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray.
Thanks for coming outside the business box. I am Chad Murray, your hostess with the mostest. And I have a special guest on today, Tom with Apex Air Duct, Chimney, Dryer Vent. He's a very special guy to me. He's one of my first chimney industry clients. And he's out of New Jersey, and he's got a unique story in our industry because he came at it the opposite way most of the chimney people came into it. We came into chimney cleaning and then eventually started doing dryer vent cleaning. He's the opposite. He came in through the dryer vent cleaning and found chimneys. And so without further ado, it's Sunday morning, everybody, for me, and my mouth is still trying to wake up. So, hey, Tom, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great, Chad. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, love having you on. So I appreciate we finally got you on here and everything. And so now let's just relax. Let's have a conversation. So first off, tell everybody who you are. I mean, how you got into any business. Just, give us your little elevator life story.
All right. So I actually started out in the appliance repair business. I did that for about 20 years. And it was, I learned everything what not to do in that business. And it ultimately pretty much disintegrated. Okay. So either because, the appliance repair business kind of faded out because of the manufacturers, warranties, utility companies, and pretty much just the ability to train and turn over technicians became such a challenge. You couldn't scale the business. So I didn't know I was dead until I died. And it was just, even then I didn't know I was dead. So in 2015, my, having a family business, age 50, I had to reinvent myself and I had nowhere to go. I just did, I did this my whole life. But, in the appliance business, we learned how to clean dryer vents from inside the dryer out. So in other words, we knew the workings of a dryer. So we know how it responded to a clogged dryer vent. So my son gets out of the Navy, says, Dad, I'm gonna come work for the business. And I'm like, son, I don't have any business. I'm 50 years old. I have to reinvent myself. I says, I'll tell you what, let's look into this dryer vent thing, and see what we could do. And, so I started to look into it. And, so prior to getting into the full-fledged launch of the business, I was at the time traveling around the States trying to promote a dryer vent alarm that I had, invented. And I was trying to get it out there and promote it. So I went to Las Vegas to a NACA show for the air duct cleaning. So I learned a little bit of air duct cleaning and dryer vent cleaning there. But then I went to the Chimney Expo in Pennsylvania for the Chimney Professional, Certified Chimney Professional, CCP.
And why did you do that?
Well, because I knew that chimney guys are associated with dryer vents.
Got it.
So I said, let me go ahead and see what kind of, traction we get there. So I remember, and a buddy of mine to this day, he'll still see when that light bulb ultimately went off in my head. The guy comes to the booth. I was trying to sell him the pitch, hey, you can do dryer vents, this and that. He says, no, I'll be honest with you, I'm really not that interested. I only do maybe $300,000 or $400,000 a year in dryer vents. So I'm not really interested. I just looked, I was like, the light bulb goes off. I looked at my bike. I said, are you kidding me? $300,000, $400,000. I said, cleaning dryer vents. And I just looked at him. And I just could not believe the fact that he can make that much money with it. So I says, oh my God. I'm like, anyways. So I go back home and now I start really looking into it. And then I come upon CSIA. And they had this program out there to certify dryer vent cleaners. So I'm like, well, this kills two birds with one stone. First off, I'm trying to sell a dryer vent product. I should be certified to know that I know everything about a dryer vent, but at the same time, I'm going to start doing it. So my son's Army buddy, Gage, he paired up with my son. I sent them, got them to be certified, and I put them together in a truck, and it says, okay, here's how we do it. Sent them out, and we started cleaning dryer vents. This was in 2000, probably the beginning of 2016. And that's when it started.
It's couple things here. Number one is, I mean, 50 years old and reinventing yourself. I mean, it to me, I mean, I just turned 50 a couple months ago. And someone, it was kind of funny because someone goes, or I said for the first time like a month ago, I'm in my 50s. And then one of my friends is sitting there and goes, no, you're not, you're in your 50. I'm not in my 50s yet. I'm in my 50. But to reinvent yourself at 50, I mean, to me, it's such an inspirational thing to be able to have that entrepreneur spirit to say, I'm not dead yet as an entrepreneur, and go, hang up the old, work for, and we'll go work for someone else. If you feel what I'm saying out there, I mean, tell me, was that a difficult thing for you, or was that just so natural to you that you're going to do something that just felt like it's in my blood? I'm doing something.
I think Freud said there was two motivations that get people going. It's either sex or fear. And it wasn't sex that got me into it.
Right.
I was scared shit.
Yeah.
My family, I got a family, kids, my whole entire vision of my future is now disintegrated in front of me. And I'm like, what do I do? So yeah, I was absolutely, totally fearful.
But what did that fear do for you? Because you could have just gone and got a job.
Well, no, I started, okay, so here it is. I am, and I'm proud to say this, is that I am a son of many fathers out there, and you being one of them. Unlike the appliance business, I had so many good leaders that were sharing their knowledge with me, and I was just a sponge. And I got goosebumps right now because I'm so grateful for everybody that really reached in their hearts and just shared their, the trials and tribulations. So, it's like I lived almost every cliche there is in business, right? So, it's funny. When I was failing in my business, and I had multiple trucks and I was having panic attacks, I went to a therapist, and I'm sitting in the therapist room, and I told her, I said, I'm running 4 or 5 trucks, and I'm not making any money. I hit the $1 million mark. I'm making 1.1 million dollars, and I'm like, I'm broke.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, maybe you just can't handle 4 or 5 trucks. And I was just like, what? What do you mean? It's me. I can handle anything. I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. What do you mean I can't handle? And man, she was right. I mean, at that particular point, she was right in a way. So anyways, long story short, I remember this, and I'm like, oh man, so what did I do? I scale back, right? It's the first offense that everybody does. And it's the biggest. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I was better. I was more comfortable. My security blanket was jumping in my truck, get my toolbox, and me being the one-man show. So at the time, with 2 trucks, and I was comfortable there because that was my safety blanket. So I didn't have that ability to do that any longer in this business. So I hear, it's funny, as we started getting into the business, I hear, 3 things, right? So I have my therapist telling me I'm not good enough, right? Because I can't do 4 or 5 trucks. Then I hear Mark Stoner, who quoted one time, he says, show me a company that's doing $1 million and I'll show you a company in trouble. Yeah. And I think it was Jake Luffer also said, if you grow too fast, you could fail. It's just as bad as not having any work at all. Right. So now think about it. I'm starting this business out. I'm like, okay, great. So here I am. I'm not really good enough to handle multiple trucks. And if I hit $1 million, I'm really not doing anything. And then if I do it too fast, I'm still going to fail. I'm like, okay, let's go. What could go wrong? But the thing here's what got me going. Okay. So I was doing numbers, right? I love doing numbers, and you show me a lot of things, and especially know your numbers, right? So at the time I didn't meet you yet, right? But I was doing the multiplier. How many trucks? I mean, how many calls? How many trucks? How many we need to be profitable? Here's where and I just said, wow, this really makes sense to me. So it's like, okay, so how do we do it? And it's funny. It's like, well, how do you do it? So you're sitting there, blank slate. How do you do it? Well, I was very fortunate that I ran into a property manager, and a property manager turns to me and says, hey, Tom, you guys do really good work. Why don't you go to this, this management committee and, start marketing to managers who market to townhouses and condos and apartments and this and that. I was like, well, what's a property manager? I mean, I really just didn't even know, what do they do and this and that. So anyways, so she turns me on to a couple of them, and all of a sudden I realized that in the state of New Jersey, that they made a lot of these attached homes mandate dryer vent cleaning. Okay, so I'm like, whoa, really? So it was like, this is a no-brainer. And I just marketed my business. I went to all the expos. I went to the shows. I actually would. Here's a funny thing. I used to walk into an office with a box of donuts and a couple of coffees. And I'd walk and say, "How you doing? I'm Tom. I do dryer vent cleaning. If you ever need my services, here you go." And it just started with a friendly conversation. And I would use Google Maps to find any cluster of condos, and I'd go to each one. And I would set days, and I would drive there like a vacuum salesman in the day.
The power of door knocking, I'm telling you, even in the chimney business, I still say it to this day. I mean, we are fortunate that we don't do it a lot anymore. But I got to tell you, in March and April, or late February and March, Masters was still doing it. I mean, not on the level of B2B like you were, but I mean, hey, door hangers and knocking on doors. I mean, I'm telling you, if your guys, it's either lay off your guys or put them on door hangers. I mean, if your weather permits. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And B2B, I mean, come on. You sell one apartment complex. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, a lot of these units, you get 3, 4, 500 at a time. And it was, so this was the early makings of our business model. So then we said, okay, well, now that we're getting to work, now we got to be better than everybody else. And I got to hand it to CSIA. I mean, they really put together a really great program. Okay. Because, you had a foundation going in, and the guys really felt confident with that badge. They felt like they knew what to look for, and they did. And so not only did we do dry events, obviously we did everything. So, a lot of guys in the chimney business are like, dry event, hey, if you do dry events the right way and you follow the guidelines that CSI puts out, you're going to talk about upgrading the transition duct. You're going to talk about bird nest removal, disconnects in the walls, and so on and so forth. So these things bring a whole new revenue stream into your company. So it's very valuable if you do it right.
Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. And I'm has my company called you yet? We're probably from our last. They're supposed to call you about trying to transition, because we're now offering a dryer vent to every single client, and it's part of our scripting. We added it to the scripting. When they go to look for the time spot to schedule the chimney inspection or an estimate, they say something personal, and then once they find the spot, they say, "Hey, next Friday is good." But let me tell you something else. When was the last time you had your dryer vent cleaned? And then they answer yes or no. And then we have a full script built in that we built out last weekend in our managers meeting in my cabin. And by God, I think I'm not for sure, but I think we scheduled 10 dryer vents last week, which we went from 0 to 10. We're charging $325 a pop. So we brought in an additional $3,250 for this week's sales this week. And here's where I think the turnoff is the chimney companies to dive into dryer vents. And let me explain. They like the easy money at chimney. The easy money at chimney is I can go sell $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 job, right? Well, a lot, especially the bigger you get, any service you can add that's profitable to it. Now, just cleaning dryer vents is not profitable, right? Doing everything you just said, the transition duct, birds and stuff in there, but all the stuff you have a full system. What is your average dryer vent ticket right now?
Okay, so we work with like communities. So we get on a vendor list, and if we're part of that vendor list, we give a discount to the community. So we range anywhere between $89 to $149.
Well, explain that though, because that's not a onesie twosie show up thing, right?
No.
To do
No.
this, that's an all day weekly, where you're showing up and doing dryer vents all day at that price. So you're not moving that truck, right?
Yes, no. So we'll go. So okay, so this is what we did was we went ahead and we clustered them. My customer service team is really good at clustering calls. So we might show up. If we get on the vendor list, we'll go ahead and do like 8 to 12 units per community. And I might move that truck 2 or 3 times in a day. But again, the multiplier is you want to get it, on whatever that number is, like 1250 a day or whatever you need to have your trucks make, you have to ensure that these trucks produce that. So we move them from, community to community. And sometimes, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you're only going there for 3 or 4. Okay. And then, so we try to make the most of it. But, it takes a lot of responsibility inside the customer service team to do it. So, our CSR team is really, good at what they do. The idea is this: it's zero cost really to advertise, number one. And number two, you have a captive audience because they're going to call you because you're on the list. So there's a lot of things that go into it where you don't have to charge as much, but you're getting volume.
So I think a lot of guys are listening and we can talk about the volume here in a little bit. We're on that right now, but let's talk residential. Because most of these people aren't going to go B2B because that's not their business model like you started up. And then I think it's going to, once they've kind of perfected the homeowner source, is then they can start, maybe venturing out into the B&B thing. Like we are definitely getting into the B&B thing because we have already done them before. And it's good money. But like, what is your average sale if you go to a residence house? You don't sell them for $89, do you?
No, they're $149.
Okay. And then what is your average? This is where it blows me in mind. What is your average ticket at a residence that you first initial time you show up to a homeowner's house? What do you sell them?
What do you mean? I mean,
you got the transition duct that you sell.
Oh no. Okay. So here, all right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is what we do in every house. This is okay. So this is the path that we use. We have a certification form, exactly like the chimney forms that everybody else fills out. Okay, but it's a dry event form. So what we do is, first thing we do is we do an inspection. We make sure that, hey, the transition duct. Now this is where it gets really, really key, and everybody really needs to know this. So a lot of times in the chimney business, we talk about, the authority of having jurisdiction. The authority of having jurisdiction falls upon the dryer manufacturer, just like it would be a factory built fireplace. So the authority having jurisdiction is the manufacturer. And on the back of every single clothes dryer, you will have a yellow label, and it will strictly state that do not use flexible thin foil behind the clothes dryer to attach the dryer to the system. It just clearly states that. And you know that 95% of all the homes in this country have that. So right there, it's telling you that transition duct needs to be replaced.
Right.
So that is just, it's not a sales, it's strictly an education. My technicians know to take a photograph of that. They call the homeowner in, they show the homeowner, say, listen, I just want to bring this to your attention that all dryer fires start from inside of the dryer. And what happens is if you have an inferior transition duct, it'll act like a wick. It'll take the fire from inside of that dryer, out that transition duct into your home. The first defense against a fire inside of a dryer is going to be that transition duct. You point that out and then you go from there. Now we usually get like $89 to replace, a piece of transition duct. So it can never exceed 8 feet, right? So what are you talking about material costs? So again, it's nothing. All right. But then you get into other things, if it goes into an attic and it's not insulated, especially in the, in the Northeast or the eastern parts of the states, that where it gets that cold air, crawl spaces included, all that needs to be insulated. And the reason why is because the hot air of a dryer meeting the cold and uninsulated area, you get the condensation and then the lint sticks to it and creates paper mache. So again, you get $300 to insulate the line. So there's, like I said, now, so all these are all part of the checklist, right? So they go right down the line, just like you do in the chimney business. We do the same thing in the dry event business. And you become a real expert in the field. They know exactly what, this is all part of their certification training, and it's all part of our internal training, and by the time they get out on the road, they know to look for all of these things.
So how much you sell in the transition?
89.
89. And
if we're there.
And then installations is $300 for the attic or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, literally you're showing up. So I mean, it's $500 to $600 every time you show up to a dryer event. cleaning generally at a residence.
Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, again, it's just, it depends on the situation. I mean, a lot of times, you don't get an adequate one or whatever. But again, it's and usually when you're doing dry events, a lot of times it's gonna be like you said, it's add-ons. You're going there for a chimney inspection, you're walking out for another $200 for your dry event, whatever. I mean, so there's a lot of money to be made in dry events, and if you do it right, and you get into the condos, the apartments, or the townhouses, or whatever, it's really, I mean, you get slow in the chimney business a lot of times. This can fill in the blanks.
You know what? And it's so, this is the, and you hear this, we've definitely heard it in the last 3 months. We heard, people talking about it. I have clients talking about it, especially clients that are trying to scale. But I've seen it to where it's just regular guys. And the funny thing about it is if you can do anything to not have to lay off people or to keep them busy, dryer vents is an easy thing to remarket to your already existing clients that I'm sorry, it's not that we started a new business up. We've always cleaned dryer vents, but we dropped the ball on not telling you about it. And so, annually it's supposed to be inspected by the manufacturer warranty of the appliance, and by the IRC state. The IRC does state it that you should have it, because we just read it last weekend. I don't have the code in front of me to tell you it is, but the IRC does state, if you're an IRC state, that it should be done. And so annually, it actually doesn't say annually. It actually says when needed and preferred annually at minimum. The way it says it's something a little differently, but it means it because there's some people, like me, like when I had all my daughters here, we were fortunate enough to have the dryer. We had a 20-inch dryer vent, so I could go in there outside easily and clean my dryer vent to where I wouldn't have to do it. So we didn't. It was right on the outside of the house and stuff. But then when we go and see a lot of other people's houses, if you have a big family, you should almost clean your dryer vent twice a year.
Yeah. I agree.
And so, but I mean, what I'm saying is a lot of people say, well, how can I expand my business? Sometimes everyone's always looking at the home run. What else can I do that's a home run? Well, dryer vents in your mind are not a home run, because you're not going to go out and do 5 million of them. You can't expand your business to 5. You in your mind can't expand $5 million with a dryer vent cleaning, but you sure as heck can go fill up maybe $3,000 or $4,000, $6,000 a week with them, and keep guys busy to where you're not laying people off, and you got cash flow. And so, I mean, it certainly is that. And to your point, it's funny. I wrote some notes as you were talking. I did the re:Invent thing, which was awesome. But you said you're doing a booth. You heard the guy say, something about, how much money it is, but you never know who you're going to meet that's going to spark an idea, right? I mean, it's so funny that, it's like, I mean, I know Stoner always talks about how I came out of my shell, and now look what I've done with my company since, and so, which I have reinvented masters, and the coaching has helped from people like you, I coach, and some other people. But I got to tell you, the more people that I just talk to on the daily or yearly basis, just like at conventions and stuff, you never know what just a simple conversation with a cigar or a beer, or just literally standing and listening to two people talk, what will change your life. It literally, things can come out of just listening and being around other people that just really blows me away and stuff. I mean, so I'll give you a perfect thing that we started this next week. And it comes from Gary Smalling. I was coaching, I was talking to him, and I guess it's not a secret. I coached Gary Smalling, and he came up with an idea to not only pay for safety equipment, but also bonus his guys on safety equipment. And I just thought it was one of these ideas that, for all the pain we've had getting our guys to wear our stuff, and we've already kind of solved it, but we wanted to make sure that I always want to try to figure out a bonus program for my guys. But I really wanted to find a bonus program that I didn't fund. I wanted the customers to fund it, right? And Gary's like, what do you think of this? what if I started charging $65 to every job I did for chimneys when they bought the job for safety and harnesses, and I gave, $20 to $40 of it away to my guys, and I saved the other part for safety equipment, for a fund to buy more safety equipment. And I'm like, that is brilliant. I mean, I went, oh, yeah, I love it. And not only do I love it, it was last week before we went, or the weekend before, last week, whatever. And I went to the cabin and I told the guys, and my whole team was like, mouth was on the ground. We can bonus our crews $20-$30, keep $20-$30 for a safety fund to buy more and better equipment and scaffolding and stuff, charge every client, and the clients won't even care. I mean, literally. I mean, you're charging, so we charge $65 for the first day and $20 additional days for how many days we're there for safety. And and then we're giving the guys, a portion of that money as a bonus if they're perfect, showing their pictures of their safety setup every appointment. If they mess up one job, bonus gone.
Love it. That's awesome.
I mean, brilliant idea. And so, I mean, it's just the things you get from when you talk to people is amazing. So anyway, back to Tom. And so, what did you meet me with? Like,
I did.
You not even started doing chimneys when you met me?
No, exactly. So yeah, remember we were sitting there, and I think I was sitting with and Mike Fazy was talking about standard operating procedures, SOPs, and he was talking, and then I raised my hand and said, "Oh, what's an SOP?"
I remember.
I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" It's like standard operating procedures. I'm like, "Oh wow,"
But I guess I forget, because you're already such a great businessman that I started coaching you when you hadn't probably barely bought any equipment.
So there was different parts of the chimney business. So we had the air duct cleaning business that started out just after the dry vent cleaning business. So what happened was, listen, I never started out to be a chimney company. Okay, I just never did.
Does.
I was going after the dry vents because it's scalable, and I honestly didn't want to go into the chimney business because of the fact that I just left a technical business that it's difficult to scale because of the knowledge that is needed. Well, I softened to that because of what you guys all did in the industry over the past 5 years, the knowledge, the education, the platforms, with all this great stuff. So you had NFI, you have CSIA, you had Surefire coming out, you have all these guys sharing this information, you had all this knowledge, all this thing at your fingertips now. I'm like, wait a second, I have a totally different outlook on this. So how did I get into the chimney business? When you go in the state of New Jersey, when you go do a dry vent cleaning in one of these townhouses and condos, all of a sudden they were saying, "Hey, Tom, do you know anybody who inspects fireplaces?" I said, "Well, yeah, I do." So all of a sudden it was like we could do a combo. Now it starts making sense to me, because now I can get into a house, I can give a discount for a dry vent, discount for an inspection of a chimney. Now all of a sudden, you got all of this, volume coming in with a little bit of a higher price, but now you have work that you can do. You could be doing repairs and inspections and cleanings and maintenance and all this stuff. And then we're doing chase covers, and all of a sudden, we were on the light end, I'll call it, of the chimney business, right? So it sparked an idea. I'm going to get into the chimney business to learn inspection. So what I do, went out, I got CSI certified. I got all my guys CCP certified. So we're ready to roll, right? This was in 2017, 18, so we're starting to roll now. Now we're doing chimney inspections, cleaning, maintenance on factory built fireplaces. And now I have my certification, the whole bit. And so now I'm ready to go, and I think who I am, and wow, this is going to be great. Until I went on my first masonry fireplace inspection. I actually should be arrested for doing what I did.
All this should have been, honestly.
I look back at that and I said, "Oh my God." I'm like, if I could only get back in that house, please let me get back in that house. And it was such a humbling experience. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, long story short. So then I met you. All right. And you're saying, well, okay, Tom, this is, and then you just you just opened up all the doors for us to be, okay, wow, we're going into the masonry business. business. Now we're doing all kinds of things. And within a 2-year period. Now, I would say this year here, we're working with a company, Hosio, and they've been doing our marketing for us. So this is going to be our first official year that we're going to be going into the busy season, like with a platform with marketing and ready to go. Technicians that went to several classes out in Indiana with CSIA, masonry, inspections. They just did rip and replace classes. So we've been really prepping for this really hard. I mean, we're doing really good. But this will be our first year going. Anyways, long story short, I did not want to get into the chimney business. I found myself drawn in by this. And then once I started to really see it, this is what we're going to do, so we're really excited about getting into it.
Well, it's been unique because, I mean, I do remember starting to talk with you right when you were starting off. And so my typical client is not a fresh start chimney guy. I don't want to talk to those guys. Those are not my coaching clients. I need someone who's already know what they're doing. The stuck people, the people that have been at whatever they are for years, and now I can show them the systems and build a business. Well, it does work in reverse, but you have to have somebody, if I want to work with them, they have to be already established and be able to afford my services, and then have the ability to work on the business. And like guys that are just fresh starts, and I actually have a couple of them right now, and they're acting like they've owned other businesses before. Now this is their initial thing, but they have to be able to have the resources, finances, and everything else to do. It ain't cheap to start a business. I mean, people used to always say, all you do is buy a vacuum pole, a ladder, and a face mask, and you're off the races being a chimney company. Well, there are guys that can go out and build their business to $1 million like that, and then they're completely stuck. Matter of fact, I've got grandbabies, what we call, and guys that used to work for me that literally are snapshots of the exact day that they quit me. They are still that company today. Yeah. They have not gotten certified. They have not expanded their mind to other things in the industry. I'm not talking about other stuff. And they all have built their business probably to about $1 million, and now they're going to stay there forever, and because they don't know how to build the business, especially in the chimney business. But I mean, it's like with anything, you have to start learning how to get outside of the truck to start being the business owner. And this doesn't matter if you're a chimney business. It can be a window washer, a maid service. You're always going to get to a level and stop if you're going to be the business. And so you are great because you were already not in a truck when I met you. And right. So you are ready. You're an implementer. I mean, you're exactly like me, and you are so much alike. When you see something, it's a tiger by the tail till it's done. It's like when we get off the phone of our talks, you're off in Wonderland into that system and making it. And by the time we talk the next week, you're showing me the system. That's you. And if anyone's going to be coached, when we talk about being coachable, that's coachable. The action of what you've learned and what we've discussed and putting and implementing it, that's what we call coachable. Coachable isn't, okay, that sounds good, and then never do anything about it. But that sounded good, and I'm going to say yes to everything you say, but then never do anything. So you were probably the fastest guy I knew that was most like me out of any of my clients I've ever had. Like, you see it and you're boom, you change it and you do it, and it's successful and it works. And you don't always do it exactly like me. You do it the Tom way, the Apex way, which is a lot of times a little altered for your own style or your own market. And boom, I mean, it's so refreshing and awesome to watch. I mean, you could go to anything, Tom. I know you could, and make it successful now. I mean, with a little fear and a little whatever, you would make it. But I mean, back to the chimney business. How many trucks now in chimneys?
Well, we run 12 trucks total, 13 trucks total. And right now we have 4 trucks that are designated for chimneys.
In 2 years.
Yeah. They're doing
And-
relining. We're doing masonry, roof up. We're doing, pretty much everything that needs to, we're doing everything. I mean, there's nothing that we're not doing. Now we're starting this week. We're going to be, we'll have a guy coming in and we're going to be starting doing our rip and replace for factory builds.
And how many chimneys did he clean in the last 2 years?
A whole lot.
You.
Oh, me. Oh, I never cleaned one.
That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to get at. So to the people starting a business and the people that are sitting there in a truck right now listening to this, and you're the business owner, and you're going, "Holy shit! This guy started a 4-truck business 2 years ago right now, and has never cleaned a chimney." That doesn't mean he's not certified, knows what he's doing. As a matter of fact, you even passed your NFI gas not long ago, right?
I actually passed all three. I'm now an edified certified professional,
Look
and
at
a
you.
master heart specialist. Yeah.
Oh, I bow down to you. My God. Look at you.
Yeah. I got the CSI one. I got I'm MACA certified for air ducts, and completely opposite I was when I was a kid. I was just a high school dropout, and it wasn't, school wasn't my thing at all.
I'm not gonna let my kids hear this, but I mean, high school was a waste of freaking time. So
Yeah.
it was high school was my college, and then went in the army. So our National Guard thing, and then
It wasn't my thing, man. That's
anyway,
not.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, the lesson here is, if you have the will, a little bit of money, you can step out of the truck and get people trained and to get out there and do this, and it just takes the willpower to do it. I mean, it really does.
It really is, and I gotta tell you, it's night and day of the satisfaction that you get out of it. And if you like I said, if you use what's everybody's teaching you out there, the resources are there. Take advantage of them. Do it. Go to the shows, meet these guys. You could be getting a sandwich online, and this little spark in your head could just bring you in $100,000 extra just because you just talked to some guy in the line. I mean, just a little alternate of your business. Like, oh wow, why did I do that? Every time I see Alan Rush, I'm always asking for another rebuttal. Come on, Alan, give me one more. Come on, one more. What if they say this? Give me that one.
So I'm gonna shift a little bit here, because me and you have such similarities, but we both have such a positive story to talk about, because not everything is about how you inspect. Not everything is about the day-to-day numbers and everything. And one of the things that me and you have done so well, and actually together accomplished a lot of this, with Mike Fazy's too on my half doing it, is the culture of a business. I mean, even if you have one employee or you have 100 employees, it doesn't matter. And we all talk about this, but I got to tell you, the success of, if you have 100 clients and you don't work on your culture, let's just say you're just a nice guy, even, and you don't work on your business, and you have 3 employees, let's say, you're going to go out there and you're going to have your guy go out and do his job. He's going to maybe invoice $1,000. Okay. I'm just an average. Let's just say an average is $1,000 a shot. So he goes out. Let's go back. He does 10 jobs. He does $1,000 each. So he does, he goes out and does $10,000. Okay. When you start inspiring and teaching people to be leaders and to care about the human race and other people, I personally have witnessed people go out and do 10 jobs and change their lives and start getting 12, 15, 1,600 a job with the same clients that would have gotten just that and that. Do you not agree with that equation that I just talked about?
Oh, 100%. I think this
Tell me about it.
So this is probably the fuel. This is probably the real fuel that keeps me going. Okay, this is the one that gets you through those Mondays, because I really care about my guys, and I care about their lives and their success in their lives, and I'm not afraid to express that. I'm their coach. That's what my job is. My job is to really root for them, and I got goosebumps talking about this because I got such great success stories of my guys. 4 of them bought a house this year. 3 of them had babies. They come to me, talk to me. They're just so proud about being here. Knock on wood, my retention rate's 100% over the last 5 years. I mean, but the thing is, it's about them. And it is truly about them because I know this, and this comes natural to me. I just know I have nothing without them. So I want to get, like Zig Ziglar said, you can help more people get what they want and you'll get what you want. And it's really a basic thing is, what do you need? And that's part of my opening line in every interview. It's like, so tell me what you want. I mean, tell me, what's your goals? And describe them to me. So where are you? Blah, blah, blah. I always tell them, you want something, put it on your visor, your truck. Get in the truck every day, look up at that visor, and that's what you want, get it. And everybody can have it. Here's how you're going to do it. And I will help you. So I like putting that out there first. Okay. So it's, you want to buy a house. That's awesome. So let's get to work. This is what I need you to do. This is how you'd increase here. This is how you can do better here. This is what you need to go here. And it's all about them. It's like, how far do you want to go? And if you just keep it in that area and you just keep helping them attain that goal of their own, well, then everything comes natural because they'll take that good nature that's in them. And then they'll apply it to what they do every day. And they truly do care about fire prevention. That's what we do. That's my company. So they do care about that. They do care about protecting homes. They don't leave a home purposely to hurt anybody. They're always out there trying to do their best because they're going home to their own families.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is keep that spin that, hey, we're in it together. This is what you do. This is what I do. Let's meet together. Let's get it going. And that's kind of what, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And that's the core. That is the core of our business.
I have a couple of things to share about that. I mean, number one is, we started our intentional culture, intentional culture right at a year ago now, a little over a year ago. And we started doing a video every week and then showing them it has to be about leadership and culture. And we share it to the management, and we don't show every video to the employees because it's got to be a really impactful one that's more feeds to the employees than it may be to the management. But I mean, the one that I shared last year, and I know I've shared it with you and everybody else, is the You Matter video. And that You Matter video, I actually was on another podcast, BS Beer Keeping and Bullshit, is the name of the podcast. With Dan Plata, and we got off there, and we become pretty fast friends. And he had a cryptic post that he was having a rough time with his job or business right now. He has like 5 of them at $1 million, and he's not a client of mine. We just become friends. And so I called him up, saw this post he did, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" So talked to him a little bit, and he's like, "Well, I'm having a problem with culture, and I have such a good culture, and I care about everybody, but I'm just having a problem relaying it and really trying to get the people below me, as inspired as I am." And I said, "All right, watch this video." And I watched the video, and I saw a life-changing light bulb in his mind go off, that he now had just found a way to intentionally work on his culture. So he has a business in Cincinnati. I believe it was Cincinnati, either a window washing or maid service. I don't remember what it was. A little over $1 million business. And he Zoomed them the next day, played him that video, and he said he could not believe all the texting back and forth. And for a week, he didn't text me for a week later. He goes, "That video just literally changed my business." And I said, "Just keep it." Now the trick is that video can't be forgotten, and you got to give them another video every couple of weeks, and you got to keep intentionally inspiring them. I guarantee you, when we're talking to maid service here, it's a pretty redundant job. You show up and you clean different houses, and so you get a little bit of it's not quite a factory job, but it is, and it's a demanding job. So and they don't pay like awesome. And so, I mean, how do you keep a fairly mundane, not very well paid position motivated, right? I mean,
Yeah.
That's what you do. And I'm not going to say that the chimneys and window washing isn't the same thing. It can get that way. Fortunately, we're kind of a more, or luckily the chimney business is more of a technical construction type deal where it is a lot of different stuff every day. But let's face it. I mean, after you've done it 10 years, When I left my business, I could care less about ever seeing a chimney again. I just wanted to manage the team and I didn't care anymore. I mean, that was my private in the back of my head. Of course, I never told anybody that's how I felt, but that's what it was. And when I found my own little thing about the coaching, and no one gave me this idea, I actually came up with the word intentional coaching or culture myself and started telling everybody, just work on it. Just be intentional with it and figure it out. Because it's not just going, nobody wants to listen to daddy tell them, let's be better, right? You have to have somebody else to bring it up and talk. And when you bring in a video, it's like someone else talking to them. And then, of course, if you can hire people to do it as well, even on that next level. But I mean, that's what it is. You've done well with that as well, starting to work on your culture. And so tell us a little bit about your culture.
So I like taking advantage of our technicians' past experiences with their other companies. I think this is one of the things that helped us, because when they come here, you can see them probing the perimeter. You know, they're like, okay, what is this guy made of? What's what's his foundation like? And because a lot of them come scarred. Okay, they're out there and they're just doing some really unethical stuff, or a lot of stuff gets swept under the rug and whatever. They came from, different backgrounds, so to speak. Okay, so when they come to me and they sit with me, and I'm, sitting here and I genuinely care, and I really do, and so I build that foundation up and out, and this is how we are, and this is what we expect from our team at all times. But still, every once in a while, and I'll be like, no, what would you do if this was your house? What would you expect when you walk in? And I'll use phrases like that. And after a while, they get like, wow, this is really great. I mean, he'd rather just walk away from any money, just to be honest, and just say, hey, this is what, and we stay consistent with that. So, and I told him, I says, look, guys, how would you feel if I didn't do this? How would you feel if I was, oh, okay, yeah, we'll put that in there. Don't worry about it. How would you feel? Would you go to bed at night? Would you be proud to come here? Yeah. So, this is what it's really important. So anybody really starting out, and I remember this. So I remembered when I first started doing dry events, and this was really a big fork in the road for me. We ran into so many places that had prior dry event cleaning companies. Now, I could have just cleaned it and moved on and didn't make any waves. And I remember these phone calls coming in from my technicians. Why? Because they're trained. They saw it. And they'd call up and say, Tom, what do we do? They got flex pipe in the wall. Well, I said, stop. You can't clean it. Write it up. Now the phone calls start coming in. Hey, Tom, we had why are you the only company to come in here after 5 years doing this? And now here you are. Now I'm looking at this huge contract and this big community. And I'm like, now I'm making property managers angry at me. But damn it, our certification says it. We're standing by it. Let the finances fall, because we're not going to jeopardize our character and for money. And that was the beginning. And that's what we did. And because I held true to that, this made us the most reputable company in New Jersey, clean and dry events. We stayed hard and fast to our character and our training. And we just said, no, you cannot have this. This is the way it is. We're not cleaning it. We don't want the money. This is what the story is. And that was how we did.
It's amazing what knowledge can do.
Yeah. And so going back into the chimney thing, and when we're hiring guys and so on and so forth with any part of my business, that's who we are. We are that company that we're going to do our best that we can to inform you of I loved what you used to say. Chimneys don't lie. And you got me on that.
Chimneys tell the story.
Yeah, chimneys tell, and I love that. And I just, I have taken that and really embraced it. And I said,
trademarked it. I trademarked it. So you got to pay me.
I love it. I'll give you.
I actually waiting on the paperwork. It actually came.
I tell you that really. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, I mean, there was that little devil on my shoulder that said, make the money. We need the money, Yeah. And then I was like, no, we're not doing it. And that really, I'm proud of that moment. Now, scan back there.
I got another thing. And I'm trying to broaden my podcast because I'm going to be coaching a lot of people outside the chimney business. But I'm sorry, I know chimneys. So here we go. So I stopped doing any other kind of cap but full mount caps 20 years ago now, right? So it's everyone knows that I have a sheet metal shop. I'm not going to say I'm the first guy that started doing that, but I don't know anyone who's got 15 plus years of only doing full mount caps like me. And so I've been there. And so we literally do not do multi-flue or flue caps at all. And if there's a dome over it, or there's some very unique thing, we might sell 2 to 4 of them, 5 of them a year, but that's just because we could not do one. And so with that said, now I'm coaching chimney businesses, right? And you get into these businesses that are, and I have a story here, that they are just getting into the full mount cap business and stuff for whatever reason, and are learning about it. And so I have a company that is probably listening, and they know it. And I was training one of their employees in my training program, sales program, and the guy's like one of the best guys that went through my program. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. But the last day we were role playing, we were role playing, but we were talking about a job that they have sold last week, and he was telling me about this job, everybody, and he said he gave the woman an option between a full mount cap and whatever, and she said she just couldn't afford the full mount cap, and I was like, you gave the option? And then I could see the pain in his eyes. He's like, well, she couldn't afford it. I said, well, she couldn't afford it because you gave her an option of that she couldn't afford it. Like you flat out, you gave her 2 prices and she's going to go the cheapest one. Because in her mind, she can't afford anything, but she's going to pay you to do anything or pay you to get her chimney working, right? And so you gave her the option. She would have known there was an option. You're the one that knew there was an option. So you gave it to her. So went through that, and I gave the old speech of why, what, all the bad reviews you can get for continuing water leaks and everything else. And then I said this to him: because everybody has pride in their company, right? And we all do the best stuff ever. I said, well, do you sell the best products and everything out there? And he goes, yes. I go, no, you don't. I could see the light bulb go off in his head. No, you don't. You just offered a multi-flue cap over a full mount cap. We all know in the industry, a full mount cap covers the top, covers first roll brick, and allows almost no deteriorating moisture. And that's actually sort of the pitch you learned day one in my class here.
That's right.
So do you sell the best products? And literally a light bulb went off. And I know he's thinking of the poor single woman couldn't afford it. And I'm like, if you didn't give her the option, she still would have said yes. So then fast forwarded to a few days later, I'm then in coaching the business owner, and knowing what was out there, I said to him, I got to talk to you about something. I said, okay. I don't tell anyone what to do. So I'm like, okay, I know you're getting into the full mount caps and stuff, and you believe everything I've told you about them, blah blah blah. I said, but you have to draw a line. You have to choose what kind of company you're going to be. Do you want to really? So I'm sorry. I asked him. I started off. I said, I got to talk about something, and I said the same thing. Do you offer the best products out there, no matter what? Yes, of course we do. And I said, well, no, you don't. I said the same thing I said to him. I said, if you're going to offer the best products out there, you've got to draw a line of what you are not going to sell. And so, I mean, if you really want, you're going to go put a heat shield in or a liner and a parging. What caused all that?
That's right.
Not having an outside mount cap.
That's right. That's right.
A full mount. The other kind of caps still let almost the same amount of moisture in. You did nothing to prevent it. You did nothing. You put bird guards on. That's all those caps are. They're all bird guards.
That's right.
So, and it's like, that's how you fix it. And so, you really literally, you're doing like what you said, you're sacrificing the money for the value.
That's right.
For your own company, not really for them. You think you're giving them a service by giving them a cheap cap to keep the birds up, but you're not. You are not.
Long run, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the same thing. And so I'm just like, you got to draw the line, and you got to bring it to your company and say, we're holding the line that this is the best products. Because I said to him, would you if there was the cheapest liner out there, it's a metal stainless steel liner. Let's say we could go to 50 gauge. I mean, the thinnest, paper thin.
Yeah.
Would you sell it? Well, no.
No.
Well, but why would you sell the other kind of cap? You see where I'm going with this?
Yep.
And a light bulb went off in his head. And so,
Yep.
it's like, yeah, if you're gonna be and hold your guns and then actually advertise you're the best company, well, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
That's correct.
And like
Yep.
you said, when you had a contract for probably 50, 60, $80,000, you found flex duct in the wall. I know what you're thinking, like, and I'll just say it out loud, fuck.
That's right. That's right.
What am I gonna do now? Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's exactly-
I'm just
yep.
jeopardizing my entire month's money right now on telling them that this is wrong. And
Exactly.
you held the ground. So let me ask you, how many walkaways did they walk away from you?
None.
There you go.
Yeah, because they were impressed. They were like, "Wow!" And I went. I threw them. I showed them the building codes, and I said, "Look, I don't want to make waves here, but listen, this is a time bomb here. I mean, so I'm just letting you know this is what And they're very receptive to it. And that's the way we do it. And believe it or not, when people find companies that are that educated and come forward and say, hey, listen, thank you, we really appreciate it, because all the other companies did not do that. Well, they probably just didn't know. I don't know. I'm not saying they did anything on purpose, but maybe they just didn't know what the codes were, or whatever. So
Another thing to ask you: so, how many times this year you raise your prices?
Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. Fuel is just killing us. We do a lot of fuel. We have compressors in all our trucks, so we use air tools and stuff. So,
if you're listening to this podcast later on, it's May 1st. He's raised his prices twice. I've raised my prices twice, and we just so at our corporate meeting last week, we went down the list, and I mean, we had a dramatic price list this week. I mean, it was, to me, like, it was on the freaky scary side. Raised our prices, and so we doubled our sweep inspection price, doubled it.
Yeah.
And then along with some other things, I mean, our bundles for our outside waterproofing, I mean, literally went up 30%. And so I also, as an entrepreneur, I had to make the decision of no more watching my numbers. I have to watch them on the weekly report. No more daily stuff. It's just too much of a mind thing for me. It's not my job. I need to watch it on a bigger level and stop letting the daily affect me. So I stopped watching my numbers this week because I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm not the business owner. I consider my management team the business owner. And when it comes to how I treat the company, and I'm the entrepreneur. So straight out of the email. And so I stopped watching. I peeked every day just because I couldn't. I went from looking seriously 20 times a day to once, which was very, very good for me. And this week I'm going to try to make it to nothing. But come Thursday morning. Now I'm still in the chat and everything else for our company thing on Connect Team. And one of the guy goes, great sale. I'm like, how do I not look after I see that? Right. I'm not going to look. And all of a sudden I see great sale. I mean, literally, whenever my mind frees and I go up to the window to click on it, it's like, don't do it. And then I see this thing, little pop up on the side of my computer, says, great sale, from one of the salesmen. I'm like, how do I not? So I go and look, and of course. So here we are. We went to the first week of raising our prices to freakish money. Okay. We've been only doing around $60,000 to $75,000 a week in sales. We did 103,000 this week.
Nice.
I mean, it's like, oh God, I was scared to death of this money. Oh, and then another funny thing. So direct vent inspections, which is, if anyone out there in the business, it's like an appliance fireplace. It's the ones that have the solid glass. You push a button, your fireplace turns on. You push a button, turn it off, right? And so we just started back working on them again, and Cody, my sales manager, set the price for an inspection for one of these, and the entire management team said, "Hell no, we're not doing that." $450
Wow.
to show up to inspect and then actually take it apart, blow all the components, and actually clean. It's a cleaning too, kind of. And he also added he was going to paint. I said, no paint. Nope. I'm not, we're not painting. I don't know about the UL listings and the, I don't even care. I'm not getting into paint. We're not painting it. But everything else, take it apart, put it back together for $450. That's, I don't like this price. I don't want to do it. So we all voted him down to, I believe, $350. And I went, so then I go and looked on, this was last Friday. So I go and look, the goddamn office had scheduled 2 of them for $450.
Wow.
And we all laughed and said, all right, his veto wins. We're staying at $450. And I think we scheduled 4 or 5 of them this week in our dead time, 4 or 5 at $450. And so it's like, I mean, if I don't care if you're a window washer, you're a plumber, you're an AC guy right now, you're a maid service. If you're good at what you do, you can get way more money than you expect right now. Raise your prices to your value. Because if you're actually walking the walk and saying you're the best business and you're not the most expensive business out there, you're a liar. You're not walking and believing you're the best, because the best is demanding the price and getting it. And if you are lying to yourself saying, I'm the best, yet you're literally half the price of someone else out in your market, or let's just say 20% less, well, you're not the best. They are. You may not claim better, but you're not the best because you're not charging it. You're not charging for what you're actually worth. Because let's face it, nowadays, it takes a lot of damn money to run a business. And it's not just the client. It takes, you got the gas, you got the car, you got the insurance, you got the office. I mean, you have all this stuff that you're looking, especially if you're a maid service or a window washing company, and you're thinking, well, no one's gonna clean my windows. We by far come here and clean my windows for $300 outside only. And I'm like, I'd pay $300 if the guy was good. The last guy that cleaned my windows sucked, and I paid him, I think, $250. And I mean, he literally sucked. Except the guy could get the windowsills perfect. I mean, like they were like straight out of the factory perfect. And I cleaned windows for 3 years. That's a hard thing to do. That guy's windows were but his sills were awesome. Now, if that guy raises prices, I would probably send him back. Or if he called me, he never remarketed me. If he would have remarketed me and asked to come out and clean my windows, which he should have, I would say, listen, you are awesome at this, although I don't think you are as good as window washing. I'll give you another shot, but you got to be better at the windows. And I'd give him a shot. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, we need to get out. I'm looking out a window right now. We need a window washer right now. And so, but back to the pricing. I'm telling you, I know in our industry we've been hammering, and stoners out there saying it, and so is a lot of other people. But everybody outside of this industry, and maybe even in this industry, if you're, and I promise you, I don't care what market you're in, and I know this is, I'm talking to you as well, Tom. If you're not charging over $250 a chimney inspection, you're not making it. You're not right. You should be charging $250 a chimney inspection minimum. We're charging $325 now, plus $75 a cleaning, $400.
Wow, great. Yeah.
So, well, think about how much it costs for you to train the guy, do the truck, buy the equipment, get the certifications, then just have them rolling up for one deal. $150 to $200 is not enough money. It's not.
No, I agree.
Not in today's age, it's not. So, I mean, you got to think of your value and your worth. And so, anyway, Tom, it's been awesome. Do you have any advice? Okay, let's do you have any advice to somebody who's trying to get their business rekindled or stuck or just, give me some Tom wisdom.
Be careful who you ask advice from.
Oh, good one.
I came from a family of firemen and cops. And when I was younger and I would ask advice, well, I'm getting it from the most conservative people in the world. So, I didn't realize it at the time. And these are all these male figures in my life, and, that I looked up to. And I was like, wow, these guys are all a bunch of successful guys. But if you're in business, talk to businessmen, but don't just talk to any businessmen, talk to successful businessmen. And you guys allow that platform to happen with all your, all the webinars and this and that. And, it's great. So, I just want to say thank you to the leaders, and, everything they do. And, I can't be thankful enough, but, use them, and listen to their leadership.
Well, cherry pick and make sure it's the right leadership though, too.
That's right.
So sometimes there is a little bit out there that's, not, not, there's a couple of different ways to think about some things about that as well. I saw a post from someone, I'm not going to name him. I'm not even going to go into what the post said. It was a couple of days ago. But I will say there's not every way to build a business or even run a business is the same. Some people don't want to build a business, but they just want a better business. So, I mean, like me and you, we want to build and build bigger, right? That's our deal. But I mean, there are people out there who don't want to build big, but they want a better business. So you gotta kind of wait on who you're listening to and what you're talking about. And building a better business doesn't necessarily mean you have to scale. It kind of inevitably happens a little bit, and you can stop the growth if you want. If you want to find a sweet spot and live in there, you can. But I mean, you do got to kind of watch for what you're talking about. Like, I guess I'll kind of mention what the post kind of was about. It was about being scheduled out really far, and someone came on there and said that they made the case of being scheduled out to December right now, and I'm like, I mean, if that's your model, that's great. And that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. But what if you had your marketing and everything down and you're only busy, but you are consistently booked out all year, 1 to 2 weeks? Who's making more money?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Oh yeah.
It's a no-brainer. And and to me, that's why I see you gotta choose who you're listening to. I'm not saying his is wrong. But in the same aspect, and maybe you are in that model, if you are in your sweet spot and you're making the money you want to make all the time, I don't see anything wrong with it if that's your model. But to tell everybody in the whole world, this is better, that's where I kind of went and felt like, I mean, that's not for everybody. There's not a chance in hell I could be booked out 6-7 months from now.
Yeah,
no way.
Usually when you ask advice, you usually, listen to what pertains to your style.
Right.
So, something like that, if someone won't be receptive to it because it's just not what they're really fishing for. So when you're asking advice, it's usually specific to where you are in your stage of growth and what you see with yourself growing. So
I can coach either model. The question is, are you efficiently doing the other model? I know how to efficiently teach you to scale. But if you want to be the booked out really long ways, what I found with these guys that are, and I have several of them that I coach, they're not making the money they could be making. And the reason they hired me is because they're trying to find that sweet spot. They don't necessarily want 20 trucks, but they definitely want a sweet spot, and they don't like being booked out 6-7 months because it's actually as challenging to manage every week because you're managing people that said yes 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to always scramble to get the right money on each week. So it's a different model. So that's a different podcast. But
that wouldn't work for me because I'm a man of instant gratification.
Me too.
So it just goes against every grain. And when I hear my customer service say 3 weeks, I'm like, 3 weeks, Jesus Christ, you can't get it sorted out of me 3 weeks. Who wants to wait 3 weeks? I'm the most intense individual when it comes to that. So, I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's another podcast anyway, because we are not, That I'd have to have that other gentleman on, which I plan to actually calling him this week and to discuss his model versus mine and have a good conversation about it and blah blah blah. But yeah. Anyway, Tom, thank you. You've been awesome, and I want more people to know who you are. And so I'm going to put this out there. If anyone wants any help with a little advice on dryer vent cleaning, can they call you or message you on Facebook?
Absolutely. I'm always available. It would be my pleasure to give back. I mean, absolutely.
Tom's in chimney world, and I believe even in service world. If you wanted to figure out how to make more money, message him on Facebook from Chimney or Service World, and he'll be glad to message you back and probably take a phone call. So he's helped us with our air duct cleaning, and now we're going to be really getting in really figuring out the exact better model of air duct or dryer vent cleaning. So thanks, Tom.
Chad, thanks for having me, buddy.